Alrighty, so you want to get your brand up and growing. You want to get more readers. Well, then you're going to want to learn more about building an author brand and the missing pieces you absolutely need. When I talk with special guest expert and good friend of mine, Ande Lyons, so you're going to want to make sure you stick around, stay to the very end. Hey, just a big quick shout out here to our sponsors. You all know that I recommend building a brand to sell more books. How fitting that we're talking about brand building today. Now there's a service that can handle that for you. Check out Author Brand Kits. They take care of everything for you, from websites to email to social media and so much more. Visit our sponsor link, dalelinks.com/ABK today. You don't want to miss out on that. And speaking of missing out, if you have not heard of Ande Lyons yet, you're going to thank me later right after this interview, because Ande Lyons is a startup founder champion, host of the popular live stream show Startup Life Live, which I so happen to have appeared on, and a co-host of a favorite startup pitch event in Boston called Founders Live, using her deep toolkit of hard-earned business skills from her 4 prior businesses. That's right, 4 here, folks. There's a good reason why I say she's a guest expert. Combined with an abundance, and that's probably on a bad day for her, an abundance of enthusiasm, aka Andelicious advice, Ande helps first-time founders build a sustainable and profitable business without spending a fortune or wasting valuable time. Without wasting any more time, I want to welcome over to the show, Ande Lyons. How you feeling?
I am feeling pumped up and ready to glow with you, Dale. Woo!
Is this there's I'm telling you guys, Ande's always on. Like, she is always on. Every single time I talk to her, I leave, I feel like I can push a Hummer up a hill. and with the emergency brake parked. That's how, like, I feel so energized. So you guys are going to really enjoy that. So
Thank you, and hi everyone.
yeah, so we're going to get to kind of talking here in just a second here, but I want to address the live viewers. So those of you that are watching this, my apologies. We were supposed to start sooner according to YouTube, but actually we're actually on time. But in any event, please, if you're watching this on the replay, drop any kind of questions you have inside the comments, and we're going to try to cover that as soon as I'm done with the interview. So let's get right to it. Briefly share with my audience, what the heck is a brand?
Oh my gosh. Well, I want to first start off by telling your audience a favorite quote of mine. It's from Seth Godin. You must follow him everywhere. And what Seth says is, sure, it's been done before, but not by you and not for us. And this is what branding is. Branding differentiates you from the crowd. And that's what you want. I mean, let's say you're publishing a book on affirmations, right? Positive affirmations. How many bajillion books are out there? But you can brand that so folks will want your positive affirmations, will want to buy yours. But the bottom line is, branding is the process involved in creating a unique name and image for a product or service. In my world, product or service. In your world, characters, fiction or nonfiction, for a consumer's mind. Okay, so branding is significant and in differentiating you from all the other authors, and in my world, all the other founders doing very similar things, very similar topics. And the most important thing about branding is that it creates loyal customers, readers, repeat, brand evangelists. They get so into who you are and who you be that they want more and they want to tell everybody about you. But I got to tell you, Dale, I can't talk about branding without talking about something that's so important before branding.
Okay, what is that?
The brand promise.
Ooh.
So, this is like, before you even get to the gist of what you're doing, and before logos and graphics and websites, you have to create what is your brand promise. And this is something, that compelling benefit or service or experience that you're going to make sure everybody you come into contact with has every time they connect with you. And it's an emotional experience. And this helps you inspire trust, faith, connection, a sense of into me, see, intimacy, into you, me, see, however that goes. It's personal relationships. And I don't care if you're a brand that has, Fortune 500, you have to create those emotional connections. So I can't talk about branding without talking about the brand promise. And along with the whole branding thing, I want to remind everybody this is very important to remember. 90% of our human decisions, buying decisions, are made on an emotional basis. So that means the other 10% needs the rational mind to justify those decisions. So you really want those fabulous pair of shoes, right? But you gotta, because you're emotionally attached to them. I'm gonna go, chick talk here, but you also have to come up with the rationalization of, well, I'm gonna wear them almost every day of the year, right? So that offsets the cost. So I want to share that with you about branding because it's so important for people to know that it is before everything starts. That's where you have to go is branding.
I love it. All right, so you've really gone so deep on this, but I feel like we need to back up just a slight bit.
Yep.
Because we have a vast majority of the people that are watching this are authors or self-publishers in some capacity. What or how does branding function for authors specifically?
Okay. So let's use a really great example. The Bridgerton series. Anybody watching that on Netflix? It's a hot Victorian romance. All right. Julia Quinn, when she launched her Bridgerton series as a romance author, she had to have the right font. She had to have the right images on her book covers. She had to create that experience, right? And bring folks in who are going to be her type of audience. So she had to speak in a lot of the promotional materials. She had to speak and have that emotional connection set up ahead of time. And how was she going to differentiate herself from all the other bajillion romance authors out there? Why did her series get picked up by Netflix? Okay. It was how she had conversations with her audience. Now, nonfiction authors, Dale, they're going to be thinking about putting out incredible font and brand, and they want to come off as that expert. So they're going to be branding emotionally. Remember, branding is emotions differently. They're going to be coming out with that expert feeling. They're going to make sure their fonts, look at Ash behind me here on the lean, running lean. It's all about having a lean startup. He's going to have the font type and characters and everything be consistent along with that. Now you're going to take it to language, Dale. So when you are out there chatting with folks, if you are a fictional writer, maybe you've got this great hard-boiled detective, you're going to talk in that detective. If that's your series, you're going to talk in that detective's language, right? To connect with folks who love your work. And for the nonfiction writers, you need to be consistent in how you chat with folks and create, again, that emotional experience with them online or wherever it is you're hanging out, promoting your book, podcast, wherever, that you are talking the language of your target audience, which means you got to do the work ahead of time to understand who your target audience is.
Nice. I've got a question. We're going to veer off the path here just a little bit because you brought up a lot of great points. Authors are all creative individuals, whether they're fiction or nonfiction. They love to express themselves through the art form of writing. Herein lies the problem. Sometimes with that creativity, it becomes almost unbridled energy that they want to, say, publish a book about, like, say, romance. And then they're like, ooh, I want to write and publish also a book about kids writing, or I want to write this book about self-help. What then becomes, is this an issue, do you see, that a person goes to so many different things? Because it seems almost like the brand promise becomes almost diluted if we're going on different things. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, first of all, you used I a lot. And therein lies the mistake. Okay, so I want to create this, and I want to do this, and I want to do that. You tuned into the wrong station.
Yeah.
You want to tune into WIT, what's in it for them, not what's in it for you. So although what you want to have as an experience, of course, is very important, especially if you're feeling really called to bring your work to the world, but you still have to look at what's in it for the people I'm serving. Where are you going to get the most juice for you, and who's going to help, create the most juice for your customers? Am I hitting that right, Dale? I mean, if I'm understanding it, are you saying, how does the author decide which category they're going to write for?
Yeah, that's also another great question that we can kind of veer off into.
Yeah, because so again, one one of my favorite books out there from back in the day is John Locke's, How I Sold a Million eBooks in 5 months. He sets everything up as a business plan, okay, when he publishes. So that's how you have to think. Well, I love romance. I want to do that. Well, okay. Is that going to work for you? And are you going to be able to make money at it? So, you're going to step back and look at it that way. Who's the audience? Can I really write for that audience? Can it really resonate? I mean, look, many of you are probably really great at everything, but do you want to do everything? No, you have to do that internal work to understand, okay, how do I want to be right now? And if that all of a sudden is really more about nonfiction and helping people maybe with wellness, et cetera, or with their business or with their home decorating, that's different. But you still have to look at a book as a business, because you're going to be setting it up with what's the problem you're solving, who's the market you're solving it for, here's your solution, this great story or this great information. And then you have to, how do I find, what are my distribution channels to that audience, right?
Yep.
And so you have to find that ability in yourself to reach those folks. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I didn't want to guide you because I was like, okay, I want to hear what she says, and this makes so much sense. It feels perfect that we were kind of discussing, like getting to know who your brand is, who you're going with. I know for sure. All right, we're about ready to pop the cork on this one here, the champagne bottle that is Ande Lyons, because I know she saw this question ahead of time. What are the most common misunderstandings of branding?
Oh my gosh. And there are many. First of all, your brand is your logo and is purely visual.
What? It's not just that?
No. Your logo is a result of your brand.
Gotcha.
Another misconception is your brand should appeal to everyone. My brand is Ande Lyons Advice. Okay. I love having Ande Lyons Advice because right away I'm going to get rid of the people who shudder when they go, "Ooh, what is she talking about?" Ugh. I want to find the people who go, "Oh, give me some Ande Lyons Advice right here, right now."
I'm digging that. Give me some of that.
Then, wow, does that make your life easier?
Yeah.
Some people think they've got to do the design elements and website before knowing who their customer is and understanding their customer, and therefore how their brand promise is going to meet their customers' needs. And one of my favorites is branding is advertising and marketing. No, advertising and marketing are tactics. They're very measurable. Okay, that's what you do after the brand. The brand is all about the core values inside your book, inside your business. It's your mission, it's your voice, it's the visual elements, of course, but it's that emotional intangible that you're going to be putting out every day. And then, another favorite, Dale, you see this happening. People like to sort of rebrand based on trends. No. You need to, and same with your books, colors, everything, you need to outlast trends.
Yeah.
And I know this can be very exciting, certainly in the creative end. You want to be up on what's happening and know that that's what's going to trigger everybody's deliciousness, but keep certain things the same with your brand. And then a lot of times branding, they think it's what the owner wants. I have the best story. When I launched my food business back in the day called Goddess Granola, one of my 4 babies, I had in my mind's eye black and gold labeling, packaging, all this. I thought, oh yeah, that's going to work great. But I stopped and I did a survey of people who buy granola, and those were not the colors they wanted to see.
Oh, pray tell, what was it?
It was blue and white and, red for, it was primarily blue, which just blew my mind because I
Huh.
think blue for me is more of financial or trust or, like
Right.
my brand, Startup Life. I have the red for the Ande Lyons fire, but I have a blue. It's a safe blue. It's a blue that people go, okay, I'm safe with her.
Yeah.
She's trustworthy, but I first knew what my brand was. And then I just want, when you're thinking of branding, of course, I'm from the Boston area. So Dunkin' Donuts, America runs on Dunkin' Donuts, but you can take that logo for Dunkin' Donuts and you could put any other words in that. And
Mhm.
people still think Dunkin' Donuts.
Yep.
So when you're creating elements that you want to resonate with your audience, you need to make sure that when they see it, they're like, yeah, just like the Geico is that lizard.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Great. So this is awesome. Now, you've worked with a lot of very successful startup businesses and entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And so this is where I'm most excited to talk to you about. What are some common traits of successful entrepreneurs who have their branding on point?
Well, you can feel it.
Okay.
Okay. You can feel the connection. So a successful brand has created an ability for an emotional reaction. Now, some like to go for the negative emotional. That's cool. But, you can see it at the Super Bowl ads
Mm-hmm.
all the time. The branding is consistent. They know who their audience is. They're talking to their audience. They're delighting their audience. They're probing. They're pulling elements out, but they are always emotionally based. And so, what they've done is they've done their research. They've done their customer persona. And authors, you must know, you too, you have to understand who your customers are, how they be in the world, what makes it that they want to read what you have so that you can speak their language and create a bridge. So that's what a successful brand has done.
Yeah.
They've also looked at how to reach their audience, right? They know where their audience is hanging out. Instead of saying, yep, I'm right here, come to me, everybody, they're like, where are they? How do I find them? And so every piece of their content, whether it's a tweet or a video, is tapping into their target market. Think, of course, I said Geico, but think Apple. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
remember when the iPod came out, right?
Oh
Way
yeah.
back. Think of everything they've done along the way. Porsche, my favorite, Andy Lyons Auto. Think about how they've positioned themselves along the way.
Mm.
Take a look at these brands, use them as examples of on a macro level, right? And bring them down into you, because your job is to differentiate yourself and find your niche with your audience. Give them that emotional juice that will charge them to go, boop, 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 boop. Have you read? Boop, 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 boop. You must read. Oh my gosh, I just got done reading this. That's what you want. You want to create what we call that rock star brand experience. You know what I'm talking about. The
Oh yeah.
5% of rock star fans who go wild and they tell everybody about so and so's newest song. Then the other, okay, well, no, I'll stop there.
You're good. You're good. You're on a roll. Don't stop, please.
Well, I just think that you have to remember, in the startup world, people come up with really interesting names, right?
Yeah.
And you sit there and you scratch your head. That's why in my show, I'm always asking people, yeah, put in your business name and your one liner, please. Because a lot of times you put in a business name and I'm like, what the heck are they doing?
What is this? Yeah.
What is this? And so part of your branding is, if you've got a tough name, you best have something like a quick video explainer, a nice tagline. Everybody goes, oh yeah, I get that immediately. You're going to have to spend more money. And so sometimes it really helps if you can, in your name or in the tagline built right into the name, really describe what it is you're doing so people can then resonate as well.
See, I love it. See, you're going to stop yourself from that. And I was like waiting. I'm like, you can't do this to me. You can't tease me here. So you've talked a lot about some of the best practices of building an author brand. So I think it's a perfect time for me to ask. There's a lot of people that want to know, when do you know your branding is right?
Well, first of all, when your branding is right, things feel a little effortless. I put that in quotes because, of course, that you are working hard. But when you have that vibe that is going with your tribe, you've heard that, you want to vibe with your tribe. Wow, does life get easier? It's like you've done your job. So that marketing is easier and it's easier to measure what you're doing because you have people coming in. You've actively engaged your audience, right?
Yeah.
You've humanized your brand.
Yeah.
And again, I said it earlier, if you have characters, bring them to life. Have them winking back at folks, or if that's their way of being, or if they are, snooty British character, have them talking like that, or if they're, Brooklyn thug, have them talking like that, whatever you've got going on. But you can bring playfulness into that as well.
Gotcha.
There's another thing, though, I really want to remind everybody of, Dale, and this is protecting your brand. How many people understand what that means?
Definitely show me, illustrate just a little bit more.
Sure. So for a business, you're going to trademark your name, right? And your elements that you're using. As an author, I'm not sure how all of that works, but you want to protect your intellectual property, really understand copyright laws, really understand, you all know much better than I do, but that's part of protecting your brand. Another thing you can do is set up Google Alerts. I don't know if folks use Google Alerts. Set it up for your name, or if you're using a pseudonym, set it up for that. Set it up for what your competition is doing. Set it up for similar titles. You can track what other folks are doing and see what's happening. But if you want to know when things are being mentioned. And then, of course, Google Alerts are great for helping you understand what everybody else is doing, what's the trends, what's going on, and maybe perhaps if it's important to you, it will help you create and bring some really great content to folks out in the world. But Google Alerts and I have a quick video. If anybody needs that, reach out to me. I've got a quick how-to video for creating a Google Alert so that you can track yourself. And that's a form of protecting your brand. And then finally, I meant to say this on how do you know if a brand is really working well? You're not going to, I guess I should say, if it's not working well, you're going to get bad reviews, folks. And then when you get a bad review, know that that person is not part of your tribe. And instead of taking it personally, think about what you can do to tailor more of what your brand is so that you attract what folks are doing.
And repel, conversely speaking.
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
I love the fact that you brought that up with the whole negative reviews, because I think a lot of authors sometimes personalize it and they forget the same thing that you kind of mentioned, that Ande Lyons, some people are going to go, whereas other people are going to go, count me in.
Well, and here's a perfect example. My husband's been in love in the Ande Lyonsness for 35 years, personally, but his world is renewables. He is the energy storage expert, in the world. His people aren't talking no Ande Lyons. Come on. And so when he heard I was putting that as a brand, he was like, I go, honey, you are not. You're my ideal husband. You are not my ideal client. You're not my ideal audience.
Yep. That's so awesome. I'm so glad you shared a little bit of that. All right. So we're going to kind of come around the bend here. I got a couple more questions I have for you here. You are so knowledgeable in this space. So I want to equip our viewers with some information. So what are some of your preferred resources in brand development?
Absolutely. Well, behind me, I have two of my favorites.
Okay.
So we have Different right here.
Okay.
And it's and you can just see right up front what's going down here. It's so important so that you can understand, how to differentiate yourself. And then Originals. I know it says How Nonconformists Move the World, but Adam Grant, really, really great information for branding and understanding human nature and the data behind human nature, why people do things, then that behavior. That's so important for founders. And I maybe things have changed over the last 10 years since the time I read, or 8 years ago when I read how, John Locke's book.
Yeah.
John Locke was a successful businessman, and when he wrote his first Private Eye series, he couldn't give it away, and he asked himself, "What am I doing wrong?" And so he brought his business acumen to being an author, and I think there are still today nuggets in there that will help you have a successful experience as an author, and really understanding the whole cycle of each of your books, including lining up your next book to follow the first book.
Nice. I love it. So I've got one more important question. This is a hard one. How can viewers get in touch with you?
Ande Lyons, ANDELYONS. Follow me wherever I glow. Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest. Y'all better be on Pinterest. And if you're not on Pinterest, reach out to me and I will get you a free how to use Pinterest. Because seriously, here's a great thing about Pinterest. You may know, you may not know. 83% of the people on Pinterest are purchasing from pins. That's a fact. That's a measurable data, and there's tons more out there. I would say 60% of my website traffic comes from Pinterest.
Okay, nice.
And I didn't even know why or how. So I'm going to put that out there. AndeLyons.com is my website. Come see me at my show, Startup Life Live. I'm every Tuesday and Friday at 1 p.m. I'm chatting with the founder. I'm chatting with the audience. We're talking about startup stories. Everything's relevant.
Yeah, you'll love going and seeing Ande live. She's so... she loves engagement with the audience, and I know it's probably driving her crazy that there's people right now that have been chatting this entire time, but now we're coming to you. You're watching this on the replay. Stick around because she might have a question that she gets answered here, and you might miss out on that. You're going to make sure you stick around to the very end. All right, so with that being said, I want to give a few shout outs to everybody here and ask a few questions of you, so please load me up inside the chat here. Want to say what's up to Michelle Winkler, Ray R. Wise, great to see you here. Easy Graphics, Ande, it's great to see you, buddy. Steven Serrell, thank you so much. Apologies again, folks, for the late start, but it was YouTube had the wrong start time. It should have been 11:45, not 11:15, so my apologies. Tanya, she was here as well. I'm not sure if she's still sticking around. She was here earlier on. Let's see here. I'm looking for some questions. Oh, Steven Serrell brings up a pretty good point. He says, I think Julia Quinn is my neighbor. There you go. Go knock on her door. But just don't be weird. Don't make it weird, though. Be like, hey, are you Julia Quinn?
That's fun.
All right, so Andrew Wade says this. Is branding as important for children's books? As a parent, we choose books for our kids based on subject matter. Children identify more with story characters than they do authors. What say you?
That's a very good question because, the person who's purchasing the product are the parents. So you have to have, and this happens a lot in B2B businesses where we have to appeal to the business who is then selling to the customer. So we have to do that dual language with them. And so it's really important that you, in your marketing and social presence, online presence, however you are distributing your book to the people who make the buying decision, speak in terms that will make them very happy. In the meantime, of course, you're going to give them what they think their kids want to see and what the kids have said they want to see, which is how the book looks and feels. So you've got the language for the kids, but you've got to have the language for the people who are paying for it.
So that's
yes, branding is very important because remember, it's the emotional glue. So you are emotionally connecting with the parents in a way that they feel, okay, I can trust this author to deliver to my kids. And then you're doing what you do best, which is speaking to the kids at their level and how they need to be heard.
I think a lot of people get the misconception that with less content makes it easier, but the content is geared towards two very specific audiences. when you're dealing with the parent and dealing with the child. So it's actually harder than a lot of people think.
That's right.
Excellent question, though. I really love that.
Thank you.
Stephen Serrell says this: can Andy be on all the time? She's on twice per week over on her channel. So you actually find the link down inside the description down below. Go over to her channel, hit that subscribe. You don't want to miss out on any of her stuff.
I want to give everybody a great example. So Steve happened to do some research and found my interview of you on my YouTube channel. And thank you to anybody who subscribes to my YouTube. And he just said, "Hi, Andy." And I'm like, "Well, who's this guy?" So I took a look and I said, "Oh my gosh, he's written this really cool book. Let me hop on Amazon and see what it's all about." I hopped on Amazon and I looked quickly at the reviews and I saw the cutie pie, gave him a 5-star rating. I was like, what? Because that's a YouTuber that, early days and very famous. And I thought, how cool is that he brought out this book and this many reviews. And that's how we started our dialogue. Please remember, social media is about everyone else. It's never about you. You show curiosity, reciprocity will happen.
I'm gonna have to dude. That is a great quote. I am so stealing that, and I'm gonna claim it as my own.
You know what? And I'm gonna stitch that on a pillow. That's what I have on my show. Stitch that on a pillow.
Stitch it on a pillow. There you go. Crowning Dope says, "Love Ande Lyons. She has done some great things in Boston." Oh, fun fact. Ray Wise says, "I'd buy black and gold granola." There you go.
Exactly.
Good stuff. All right, so I'm scrolling through. Rockstar Status Easy Graphics says, scrolling through here. And if I miss your question, please drop it back down in here. It's tough to kind of keep up with it. You guys are so active. By the way, let me know where you're watching from. And have you heard of Andy so far? Let me know. Say yes if you've heard of Andy before. And then say no. And then tell me, how has your life changed now since seeing her? So she is awesome. A lot of fun. Ooh, here we go. Easy Graphics says, "How do we reach out to Andy for the Pinterest thing?"
Ooh, yes. So you can go to my YouTube channel. You'll see the episode there under my Startup Life live show playlist.
Okay.
And you'll get the link in the show notes and you can just go ahead and grab it and have fun. Watch the advice. It's Elisa Meredith. She's Tailwind App's brand ambassador, marketing product specialist. Tailwind is the app that Pinterest uses to push out pins and also for Instagram. But seriously, you are going to be mind blown over how Pinterest can work for you. You will see it show up in your Google Analytics. I promise you. It's the best kept secret out there.
I got my assistant always telling me I need to get on top of Pinterest, and she dominates over in that space.
You'll see the results. It's crazy.
I think where how many playtime's spinning right now, though, Andy.
She can just create a few boards for you because I'm telling you, self-publishing would be a huge hit on that platform.
I've got another one here. This is from Shiana Marie. She says, "Hello. What is your favorite aspect of building your brand?"
Ooh, I love the customer persona exercise. So that's an exercise where you really get in deep as to how your customers think and feel. Who are they? How do they be in the world? What are their needs? What are their motivations? What are their beliefs? That really lights me up. But then, one of the things that I didn't talk about, Dale, was a lot of times people go, okay, so now that I know what my brand promise is, right? I need to go hire somebody. And, I have a list of what you don't do when you hire somebody, which is, I know what it kind of looks like or thinks like, but you've got to go deep into understanding your customer so that you can tell your graphic designer, mine is Nikki, here's how I want to vibe with my tribe. And then they go, got it. So you've got to do your work. So that to me is the best part, because once you understand how the language you're going to use, in my case, it's delicious, it's upbeat, it's joyful. It's also easy because it's kind of who I am.
Yeah.
But you have to be consistent. You can't go off on go and tune into how you are on the weekend online. You have to keep that online presence steady and consistent. And also whenever you engage with your readers.
Yeah, it is such a fun process. I know when I first got into the business, I didn't know anything about brands or nothing. I thought my whole audience was everyone. But as soon as I started to understand the process of building out that brand, it's addictive. It's like, oh my gosh, yeah. So for instance, a lot of people don't realize I have multiple YouTube channels, and this is probably the most successful of them. I have another one that's called Live Streaming Tech. Building that out has been fun, not only because I have my brother here, but also identifying our audience, tweaking our product, and getting it to where it's really, gonna be built to last. And I'm just really
Oh my
thankful
gosh,
about that.
congratulations. Hold on.
There, I was waiting for them to come up. All right, so I got a couple kudos here for you. Let's see here. Tanya's Writing Realm says, have not heard of Ande until now. Kelly D said, I haven't heard of her, but I love her energy and subscribed. So fantastic. That's so cool. I get a few other people that said they've heard of you, and some people that say they haven't. Dale using mason jars like my daughter. I'm sorry. That's like that. If I drop it, it's not going to shatter. And see, I've got a case of the drop. So, and I try not to drink during these broadcasts, but when I start to get dry, I have to do something, right, Ande?
Absolutely. You got it, because you're talking the whole time for a period of time. And you never know when the froggy throat's going to come in.
Yes. I can only imagine. So, Ande, why don't you tell me just a little bit about it, Brent?
No, I don't smoke and drink whiskey all day. Sorry.
Right. Just on the weekends. All right, Kelly D has a question for you. Do you need separate Pinterest for personal and business if you use a pen name?
I would do the business. And when you hear what Elisa Meredith talks about, you want to claim your Pinterest website, because that is what's going to give Pinterest the information to then promote yours. Now, here's what I do, because I think I might know what you're talking about. I keep my personal things private. So I put a lock on that board. So my food and my home improvements and things like that are locked for me, because there are still housing things that are real important to me, but the world doesn't need to know about that.
That's true.
Whereas at the same time, I do have my Ande Licious Autos out there for everybody. I have food for thought, inspiration, boards like that, along with resources and tools for startup founders.
Kevin McGuire says, cigars and whiskey never hurt anyone. Smiley face. It'll hurt me. Trust me. My days of doing cigars and whiskey are long past me here. All right, fantastic. Ande, one last time, how can viewers get a hold of you?
Well, viewers can just type in ANDELYONS, find me. I will connect with you, ask me any questions. And I want to wrap this whole conversation up on branding with a really important final piece that will really help you understand why branding is so important. It's the Maya Angelou quote, which is, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel.
Perfect.
That's branding, baby.
Thank you so much, Ande. And hey, folks, while you're still kind of tuning in here, guess what? Right over here in this specific video, it was when I went over to Ande Lyons' show, and we talked all about self-publishing for business owners. And if for some reason you've already seen that, YouTube recommends you take a look at this video over here. I'll see you in either one. Take care for now.